Rebecca, can you hear us clearly in here?
Yes, I can. Jeff, can you hear us?
Yep, I can.
Wonderful.
It's 6 o'clock. Go ahead and call this meeting to order. First, welcome everybody for taking time out of their evening to be in attendance. Present in the council chambers, as well as those that are joining us virtually. City of Anamosa City Council Agenda Regular Session, Monday, April 26, 2021, 6 p.m. Anamosa Library and Learning Center is also Zoom. 1.0 roll call.
Crump,
Here.
Smith. Here. Lockhart,
Here.
Zumba.
Here.
Stout,
Here.
Capron,
Here.
Note that all council members are present. 2.0 Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before proceeding to 3.0, we do have a council member that is joining us virtually this evening. So I will ask that all motion decisions be conducted through a roll vote. With that, Rebecca, would you please inform those that are joining us virtually how they can get your attention when it comes time for public comment?
Absolutely. So for those who are joining us for the first time, you may have already noticed that you cannot unmute yourself. I'm the only person who can do that for you. The way to let me know that you would like to speak on an agenda item so that I can unmute you is by either sending me a message in the chat function or by raising your hand. You can find the raise your hand function on a computer by looking for the some of you there should be like a reaction option. If you click on that at the bottom of your screen, you should see a raise your hand option, and just click on that, and that'll let me know once the mayor opens it for public comment that you would like to speak. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Rebecca. 3.0 Approval of Agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. A motion by Jeff, second by Alan. Any other council discussion? Beth, will you conduct a roll vote?
Capron,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to approve the agenda carried unanimously. 4.0 motion to approve the minutes from the following meetings. 4.1 April 12th, 2021 regular city council meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Kay, second by John. Any council discussion? I would like to state that I am disappointed with the opinion of color commentary that was injected into the minutes from the meeting on April 12th. 5.5 years of reading minutes from council meetings, I do not recall ever seeing that level of opinion included with the minutes. I don't believe it is necessary. We could certainly stick to fact-based and leave the opinion out of it. I believe it was very unprofessional. We do have a motion on the floor by Kay, second by John to approve the minutes as submitted. If there's no other discussion, I will move to approval.
Smith,
Yes.
Mockart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to approve the minutes as submitted carried unanimously. 5.0 public hearings, none. 6.0 proclamations. Sexual Assault Awareness Month. I'll read the proclamation. Whereas sexual assault affects people of all backgrounds, including age, race, cultural background, gender identity, sexual orientation, economic status, level of physical or cognitive abilities. And whereas, in addition to the immediate physical and emotional costs, sexual assault may also have associated consequences of post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse, depression, homelessness, eating disorders, and suicide. And whereas sexual assault can be devastating not only to the survivor, but also for the family, friends, and community of the survivor. And whereas, since no one person, organization, agency, or community can eliminate sexual assault on their own, we must work together to educate our entire population about what can be done to prevent sexual assault, support survivors and their significant others, and support those agencies providing services to survivors. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of Anamosa, and on behalf of all staff and citizens of Jones County, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2021 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the city of Anamosa in Jones County, Iowa, and encourage all citizens to learn more about preventing sexual violence. Seven point zero, old business. 7.1, request from the Anamosa Ragbri for seed money for the event. Chamber Director Leanna Boone.
Leanne Boone, Chamber Director, Ragbri Committee member. I'm assuming you all saw the letter that we submitted for the request for seed money. At this time, we're not requesting the full $15,000. We're requesting $10,000 and proposing the city keep 5 for your expenses. As you heard last time, that money, the intent of that money is for seed money for expenses that we incur for Ragbri, entertainment, porta pots, campground expenses. There's a lot that goes into the planning. Quite frankly, without that seed money, there's going to be things that we just can't accomplish.
No, it's definitely needed. And being the treasurer last time, I mean, we paid it back, but it was tight even with that. So it's definitely needed.
So let me clarify. Your intent then is to leave 5,000 with the city, get the seed money for 10, and then are you going to pay the 10 back since it's seed money, or are you keeping it?
We'd like to keep it for expenses. We're proposing that you keep 5,000 for city expenses. Do we think that's going to cover the city expenses? Probably not. But after talking with other city council chamber directors, everybody that's in charge of different towns for Ragbri, their cities are working with them very well, and everybody's coming together to make it successful. That's all we want. I mean, I think at the end, if we look at, we'd be happy to look at how we've come out and discuss things further at that time. But right now, that money is what we really need to get started to make this work. After the past year, our businesses in town need this. I think there's some sitting in the audience right now that can attest to that.
Well, just from my perspective, I don't disagree giving you the 15,000 for seed money. But we have to recuperate expenses. Excuse me, Betty, do you have something to say? Well, since you were turning around,
You want me to get up now and share?
I'm waiting.
We're in this together, we're co-chairing this. You are getting the money. You're getting the money from Des Moines. The check for $15,000 is coming to the city. We're asking that of that 15,000 you are already doing, that you pass 10 on to RAGBRAI and you keep 5. In the past, when we came and asked for 15,000, once the money came from Des Moines, we then turned around and handed it over to the city. This time, the city is getting it. That's what I want to share.
So I'm just trying to clarify. So when I did the book, I was the treasurer for it in 2012. So at that time, the 15,000 came to the RAGBRAI committee. We did the whole event. All the deposits, all the income, and all expenses were run through RAGBRAI. I mean, it was technically under the city, but it was kind of run as a separate entity. But then the 15,000 was paid back at the end. Are you proposing that we get 10 now and then 10's paid back, or just 10 is given and not paid back? Which one are you saying?
I'm proposing that we get 10 to make this event happen. And at the end, we can look to see where we are. We're trying to do this on a shoestring budget. 15,000 isn't a lot to pull this event off. Anybody that's been involved before can tell that. It's not a money-making thing for the city. The city does absorb a lot of costs. I'm freely admitting that. But that's with every city that's involved with it.
Could you come up to the podium? Come to the podium, please.
I just want to clarify with last time, we came to the city for the seed money and we weren't expecting RAGBRAI to give us money. So we came to the city for 15, I think. We repaid what we could from that 15. RAGBRAI then gave us money. So this time, RAGBRAI is giving you money and we're asking for that money because it didn't come to the city directly last time, it came to the committee. So that's why we paid that back. Now, the city's getting the money, so we're asking for 10 of that 15 that RAGBRAI is providing. I think that's where the clarification is.
Do we know when that's coming from RAGBRAI?
It should be 30 and 60 days before the event, I believe is what it said.
7,500, 60 days before, 7,500, 30 days before. Okay. So the first will be coming before too long.
Right.
So, Leanne, as I read the letter that was submitted with our packet, I'm certainly not trying to put any words in your mouth. I'm just making an attempt to read it and inform my opinion on what it is trying to state is $10,000 seed money now. The check that would come from RAGBRAI in 2 increments totaling 15,000 would go directly to the city. Of that, 10,000 could be considered repayment of seed money and 5,000 be retained by the city for their internal expenses.
Well, the city gets both payments.
Yes, the full 15.
Right. We're asking for 10 to make this event happen, which was it's the intent of the money. The RAGBRAI director spoke to that last time when he was on Zoom. I have an email from him. I think there's just been a whole lot of negativity that didn't have to happen with this whole thing. And I'm sorry that that's happened, but I think leaving personal feelings aside, what we all need to do is make a decision that's best for the community. Like I said, I understand that this is a big expense for the city. It's a big expense for any city that puts it on. But you have to look at the bigger picture, and the businesses have had a rough year. I just got an email from RagBri. It's a full RagBri. So there's going to be a lot of people coming in our community, supporting the churches, supporting the little league teams, the nonprofits, and our local businesses.
Are you guys planning on running it? You're proposing through festivals being run like last time, where all any income deposits will be run through there, and the expenses for the event, like law enforcement was a big one last time that we expensed. Are you guys planning on paying that one, the law enforcement, like, because you have to get an extra help? We used the state patrol and Jones County last time. Is that
Right.
the plan right now?
Well, I asked Dieter about the state patrol, and he said that RagBri pays them, so we shouldn't have any billing from the state patrol. I know that I saw that in the budget last time. He said they pay them enough. That certainly shouldn't come to us for a bill. I went back and watched the budget meeting. I saw that Jeremiah has so much in his budget for RagBri.
Well, it's true. He did put budget in for RagBri, but that should be paid back to the city.
Well, and like I said, at the end, when everything's cleared, we're more than happy to look at things and, or even if you have a proposed budget, see what you think the city expenses would be. I realize it would be a guess at this point, but
Yeah, I would just like to see the city be a little more helpful this time, especially in that department, because I know firsthand how that worked last time. We had to pay, I cut all the checks to the state patrol, to the Jones County, to the police department, and we paid a pile, and we wouldn't have even come out whole. We paid back the seed money, but we wouldn't even come out whole. The city had no give, the police department had no give. The only reason Greg Graver stepped up to the plate and he said, "You pay your other law enforcement, and what you have left to zero out, pay me." And he didn't come out whole, but he took care of it and stepped up on his end. I just think the city needs to, because last time the police department especially did not help out much. I mean, they were there, but as far as there was nothing that was done without being paid at all.
So Jeff, last time you paid the state troopers, but this time RagBri's paying them. Is that what I'm understanding?
yes, that's what I received in an email confirmation from
Okay,
Greg.
you're saying state patrol, but still they give you how many, because we had to utilize city, county, and state to get enough people. So they're saying we'll still have to pay the county, but I mean, I guess I would be leery. I'd want to see that in writing, because you're going to get killed on law enforcement costs. I mean, it was over $10,000 just for the day that we paid. So I'm just speaking from experience.
No matter how we look at this, I think everybody's going to have to take a part of the hit. I mean, this isn't exactly a profitable thing to be running, but I think it does help the city.
It does. You got to step back and look at it as a. I'm sorry, Alan. Go ahead. There's a lag with the
That's
sound.
all right.
I'm sorry.
We just need to decide what's fair for everybody, I guess.
Well, and if you look at it as a tourism or economic development tool, I mean, I know last time the hospital spent money, with the intent of attracting possible, physicians or healthcare people, tailored to them. I mean, the city kind of puts the infrastructure in place in hopes of, attracting possible residents or business people or, that sort of thing. Let the churches and the nonprofits and the businesses make money, and let people have a good time in Anamosa and remember us. So,
Well, I don't have a problem with the city helping out as much as we can, as long as we stay within the legal ramifications of everything.
yeah.
You know, if we have to charge because the state auditor's office says we have to charge, we have to do that.
But how's it any? I mean, it's just a beefed up version of Pumpkin Fest. I mean, the one day when we have Pumpkin Fest every year, it's kind of the city gets turned over to the, you know, for us to have the festival. You know, the street department helps the day before to get barricades and stuff moved, and the police help out, and you know, it's I don't know. I just kind of see it as it's kind of a beefed up version of Pumpkin Fest.
It's a beefed up version on steroids.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, I'm saying the city just utilizes the resources because that's where the need is of the day. Just like when there's an accident or whatever, that's where our resources go. You put your resources where there's a need. You know, on that.
I can tell you from just going through the audit, I had to justify several Pumpkin Fest expenses through the Lawrence Center because they questioned the essential public purpose of those expenses. So they may or may not show up in our audit report. I don't know if my explanation was satisfactory. She did warn me on several things about public purpose.
Yeah.
And
That's all.
I'm just guessing that in the 8 years, 9 years since the last RAGBRAI came through town, some things have changed. So we just have to be aware of that.
Oh, I know. I know how it goes with audits. I mean, from my work, that's a big thing. But you think of the improvements that are put in downtown. You know, like the electrical boxes and stuff. I mean, I would bet money that really the only two uses those things have been used for since Streetscapes was done was probably for Pumpkin Fest and RAGBRAI. So I'm just thinking of that, for example, if we're, you know, I don't know if we're talking about charging RAGBRAI for electricity, but essentially that kind of stuff was put in for these type of events. So. Anyway, anybody else wants to talk? I think that's about all I have.
Well, electricity, would that come out like from the vendors when they get their spots? Would that
Yeah.
pay that, or?
The electric fee.
We do charge an electric fee.
Okay.
Of $75.
Oh, okay.
Well, here's an option. I mean, in a lot of venues, you know, places that put on, you know, in big events where they rent out spaces, you know, there's so much for the space, there's so much for the electricity. I mean, if there was an arrangement where RAGBRAI would charge electricity fee and pass on to the city, and then the committee could keep the, you know, the vendor income, just as an idea. Or same thing for water. I mean, kind of have a matrix as far as the chunk that RAGBRAI gets to keep and so much that can be passed on to kind of help the city out too.
In conferring with the city attorney, he said if I understood him correctly, he said that through an auditing practices, as long as there is notations or documentation that says where tax dollars went to, even in shifting it into, in a sense, something not a city function as far as city municipality, that those notations would be adequate through an audit. So the concern is diversion of tax dollars to pay for some of this. The city attorney believes that if you follow that up with notations regarding those expenditures, it would suffice an audit.
Well, not to say whatever about attorneys, but attorneys sometimes think they know more than CPAs and other people, that whoever's doing the audit is going to be the one who's going to be the deciding factor, not the attorney. You know, that's like attorneys doing taxes. Not all of them really know what taxes to do. That's why you go to a CPA. So nothing against attorneys.
Yeah, if I'm paying the man, I wouldn't trust that he's giving me truthful information.
Just saying.
Question. Okay, so just touching on the audit, Beth, you said with Pumpkin Fest, is it an issue because Pumpkin Fest is not put on by the city? It's like a separate through the chamber or Pumpkin Fest? I'm just thinking, if this does it make a difference from the audit side as far as if this thing is run under Anamosa Festivals or City of Anamosa? Does that make
No.
much of a difference?
No, that's not the difference. It just, I
Okay.
mean, they still, I talked to Leanna, they have it segregated just the same way we did. It's just under Anamosa Festival's tax ID. It's the same setup that you were involved in. The
Okay.
difference is that the Pumpkin Fest is open to the public. It's a public event. RAGBRAI is put on for the participants of RAGBRAI. RAGBRAI we just don't throw a RAGBRAI party. It's for the people who register for the event.
Okay.
And it benefits and people can participate in the party part of it, but actually the event is put on for those people who pay to be part of it. So that's where, I mean, some of the things that the audit looked at for were different things for outside agencies. I needed to have justification for that. Everything has to be voted on by the council. No public funds can be given away or allotted without council approval. They're the governing body. So that's all. I mean, granted, he says they have to be noted, but they have to be justifiable as well. So everything for Pumpkin Fest, I mean, some of the things were, I'm not sure if they took my word for it or not, but it is a public event. Same with a lot of few different things for the library. They're available to all of the public.
Gotcha.
So I'm not an attorney, so I don't practice law, but I know one or two of them. And my guess would be, since the city signed the agreement with RAGBRAI, it is actually the city that is the one that has the agreement, not festivals. I would put that with your paperwork. So if there's any audit, that should answer the question.
Is there any other questions for Leanna? I'd entertain a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion that we do the 10,000 with 7,500 going out 60 days prior after we receive it from RAGBRAI. 2,500 going out 30 days before after we receive it from RAGBRAI. And then after the end of RAGBRAI, we have an opportunity to go through, figure up our billings, talk to them about their funding, and come to an agreement on other expenses.
Second.
We have a motion by Rich, second by Kay, to stair step the seed money funding into separate 75, 2,500 respectively. Any other council discussion? Any public comment? I'll start with those in the room.
So just for
Could you
clarification,
please state your name, Betty?
Betty Weimer, 1609 Meadow Ridge Court. And just for clarification, of the 15,000 that Des Moines going to send the city, okay? 60 days before RAGBRAI, the committee will get 7,500
after we receive it from RAGBRAI.
after you receive it. And then after you receive the other half, the committee will receive 2,500.
Mhm.
All right. And then when RAGBRAI is all over, the city will submit a bill to the committee for expenses that
That over exceeds the 5,000.
over exceeds the 5,000. Okay. Thank you.
I would like to see us, you know, if at the end there's no money left over to be had, that we work with them, you know.
Well, and that I think I included that in the motion.
Is there any comment, Rebecca, from those that are with you virtually?
I do not see any right now.
Todd Weimer, 1609 Meadow Ridge Court. Not here as an attorney, but just question. Did I understand correctly that when budget was submitted this year for the police department has already budgeted in their 2021 budget $7,000 toward RAGBRAI expense?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'm required by state law to never exceed our budget. So anytime we would have an extra expense, it has to be included in the budget. But there's always a revenue balance though.
But the $7,000 has already been forecast based on prior experience with RAGBRAI.
Correct.
So the city has already basically expensed out $7,000.
We have not expensed it out.
Well, they presumed that approximately $7,000 would be the bill from the city of Anamosa, or from the city police department, correct? It's already been
Well,
factored into a
What
budget,
would be reimbursed for.
But
it's budgeted.
So I also put on the revenue side, the balance for that. So we're expecting a reimbursement for the RAGBRAI expense. So state law requires that I can't exceed our budget. So anytime I'm going to be writing payroll, I have to make sure that the police department doesn't exceed their budget. So
Correct.
I have to include it or we can't pay it.
But the city has already planned for $7,000.
By law, we have to.
So it's already in the budget factor.
Correct.
but I was thinking it was 8,000 you budgeted.
It is.
That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
it's 8,000.
Sorry, I thought it was 7. Either way, it's already in the budget.
Yes.
Okay, and just to clarify, so if it's in the budget, the checks for all animal law enforcement they'll be on the payroll. The checks will get written through the city, and it sounds like RAGBRAI will. I mean, I'm guessing I'm saying, what is the committee going to be responsible for writing checks? Because last time it was city. Is the committee going to be responsible for paying state patrol and county and then reimburse for the patrol? Is what it sounds like. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, so the money that's in the budget is to hire additional officers, temporary officers to cover the RAGBRAI event. So again, just because it's in the budget, there's a lot of things that are in the budget that we just have to plan for just in case, such as water main breaks and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that we necessarily need to expend those funds.
Okay, and
Anyway,
and that will only be above and beyond. We're not expecting them to pay back like whatever Jeremiah would normally have on schedule on a Friday or Saturday night. That's besides, right? We're not, because he's still got to have people, still got to have officers to attend to your normal stuff. So okay.
correct.
There are no other public comments. I'll move for a roll vote. Beth, would you please?
Lockhart,
Yes.
Stumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. 7.2, second reading of an ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Anamosa, Iowa, under general code provisions by adding a new chapter, chapter 10, entitled Ragbri Miscellaneous Permits and Regulations.
Can I ask for some clarification on some things? Does this, if I'm reading this correctly, if, say, Fairway sets up a card table outside in the parking lot to sell water, do they need to spend the $700 or $500 for that?
Correct me. As long as they're on their own,
Could you guys please state
oh,
your
sorry,
names?
Leanna Boone. As long as they're doing business on their own property, they can,
They can do
they
whatever.
can do that, correct?
If they're doing their normal day-to-day business. So if normally they're selling water out in the parking lot, if that's their normal business, they do not pay a vendor fee. In the event when Family Foods was there and they had what we called the burger barn, and that was their normal business, Family Foods would not have to pay a vendor fee. If it is not your normal business, yes, you pay a vendor fee.
Even though they're on their own property.
That would be true in any business. We would have the dress shop selling pies on a table on the sidewalk because it's on the property. We would be having other people stepping outside their business and selling stuff and doing stuff that is not a normal business for them. And then all of a sudden, we're paying all these RAGBRAI expenses and we're not getting vendor fees, but we're managing to work to bring people to town to spend money at these places that are setting up outside at no cost to them. It has to be spread. The expense has to be spread around.
So churches, if they are having a pies, you're still gonna charge them, what is it, $300, $300?
Yes.
These ordinances were just updated from 2012. Basically what you have, and we followed, we've looked at other towns' ordinances. I mean, these aren't something that we just,
Well, because I did look at DeWitt's, and DeWitt has, for downtown, they have what they call business extension. So like T&Ds could set up on the sidewalk and not pay anything. But if they wanted a frontage on the street, they had to pay the vendor fee. Otherwise, they could put a vendor right directly in front of them. So they've got what they call business extension, so they don't have to pay the fee.
Correct.
I
And
thought-
that works, that probably works for DeWitt, but DeWitt City is probably absorbing a lot of the expense too. So if we were to go off of what every town does, we'd have to go off of what every town does, both in revenue and expense.
Now, I remember if I remember right, in 2012, if there was a lesser fee, like if you're like T&D and you set up outside, it's less, even to get this, like the sidewalk area, there was a smaller fee if you're in that business of food or whatever.
we have step down fees for chamber members, for different nonprofits. But like I said, I mean, our ordinances aren't out of line with what most have done. And we do have to make money. I mean, it's,
Well, and I get that, but I'm just, you talk about it's been hard for businesses and so forth for the past year. I'm thinking like churches, they could really use, instead of having to pay the $300, hey, they're out in their parking lot selling pies because of, let's face it, COVID probably not going to be completely over by that point in time, that they may not want everybody in their church basement. So I'm just asking the questions.
And just, I have had a food service license since 1994. I work directly with the state health department in food service, and I guarantee there'll be no church allowed to sell pies out on a sidewalk or in a parking lot. The health department won't allow that. But we did give a break for nonprofit, and we gave an additional break if the nonprofit is also chamber members. And I'm sure that you can look around, and as far as what other communities are charging for fees, we're not the least expensive, but we're definitely not the most either. We tried to come in it very fair and in the middle and give as many breaks as we can.
Well, just from my standpoint, I find it kind of hard to justify charging somebody to do business on their own property. That's just my take.
Thank you for that. Any other questions?
I have a question. Can you tell the council what kind of response you got from the vendors as far as the fees and things?
Renee was here. Renee's done RAGBRAI for 26 years. I think she's actually one of our vendor committee members,
Mhm.
and she helps set the fees.
Okay,
So she said they're not out of line. She helps set the ones for the nonprofits and the for-profit on a step-down basis. And she thought, I mean, we're less, again, than a lot of towns are right in line. So I know that for sure we're less than Waterloo this year.
Well,
So
thank you
to
for that.
be on the food and vending committee, because we did not do all this, we have committees for everything. And on the food and vendor committee is both Renee, who is a vendor, does it for a living, and Mary Oldham that also sells food out of her downtown for a living. So we brought in both a local business owner and a vendor to get the opinion and to help set the fees. So we didn't just come up with these. We have met with people, we've met with the state of Iowa, we've met with other communities, and we have weekly meetings with the RAGBRAI committee, in which, from Des Moines, in which we get to discuss what other communities are doing. So that's how we got to where we are on that.
Thank you.
And just one more question. I know you said you're giving a break to chamber members. How come you're not giving breaks to any business within the city?
It's against the law. There's a state of Iowa code, and I'd be happy to email that to the council.
I wish you would, because
I will.
I spoke with the city attorney today and he said it was fine.
Okay, well, I'll send it to you.
There is a thing in the RAGBRAI book, and I'd be happy to print it out.
I wish I brought my book tonight. I had it last time.
Well, that's fine, but I mean, he said that it was well within the rights to do it.
Okay,
So,
well, I'll send you the state code saying that we cannot charge locals less than we charge others. Because and so in order to give people a break, we did it by if they're a chamber member. And the other thing is we made it to be where if you're not a chamber member and you become a chamber member by, I think it was say May 1st, because we thought the ordinances would be passed by now. So, I mean, we might change that because we all want to work together here, but we made it to where once these ordinances are passed, people can still save money by becoming a chamber member. They're going to save like some $100 to $150. So we did this and gave the time limit of May 1st to allow for them to still save money on their vendor fees.
And we
Even
have
the-
had out-of-town vendors take advantage of that to save the money.
So what is a chamber? What are chamber dues?
Well, if you're a first-time vendor or first-time member, it's $50 for the first year. So they're paying $50 and saving 100 to 150.
So we did try to make it bypassing that law that we could give a break to locals, that we could give locals an opportunity to still save the money.
Well, I would like you to email that because I'd like to see it.
I would be happy to.
Okay.
I'll send it to all of you.
That would be good.
Any other questions?
So this is the second reading on this agenda item. The levels for vendors and businesses, those were in the previous
Mhm.
Mhm.
ordinance, okay.
Sure.
So what are the amendments for tonight's agenda item? Are they the highlighted ones in our packet?
Patrick highlighted them.
Pardon?
Patrick highlighted them.
So
Could
ten
you
23
repeat what she
40,
just said into the mic?
Patrick highlighted them.
10-23 authority, 10-24 audit, and 10-25 compliance with city and Iowa code. Those are the additions from the previous reading.
Correct.
So what was the need to amend and insert 10-23, 10-24, and 10-25?
Patrick reviewed it. Since we are giving authority to someone else, they still have to abide by the city rules as far as transient merchants for the vendors. And we have certain requirements for those vendors. The city is really the only entity that's capable of charging a permit fee. And we're giving that authority to the RAGBRAI committee. He just added that so last time we did the permitting, the city did the permits.
So last time was in
So it
2012.
followed our permitting fee or our permitting requirements. Since we're delegating that, you have to follow our code. We automatically follow our code.
I've got one question too. If we're amending this, wouldn't we have to start all over and have a first reading?
You do not.
Would you
It
not?
doesn't essentially change the purpose of the ordinance.
Okay.
It's not like we added water rates to it, or it's still in line with what the ordinance is.
Thank you.
It's just adding that it has to follow city code and state code.
For the purpose of clarification, can you explain what that code is to the public?
The peddler
That
permit,
yeah, just the reason it was changed, just so that people have an understanding that last time we didn't have to follow it, but this time we do.
no, last time it was followed, but the city issued all the permits.
Right, that's
So
what I
we
meant.
followed- Yeah,
So-
so it's just the requirements for insurance, identification, just the usual things you would check for a peddler, for a transient merchant, for someone who's coming through town that's not local.
And they'd have to be bonded.
So bonding and insurance are very similar.
I know that.
So it just has to be an insurance certificate, just so that they're insured for liability. But our city code states it as a bond.
So I guess I understand how that covers the city code, but we're also listing in here Iowa Code Section 9C.
Which is what our city code follows for bonded and insured.
So by qualifying for one, you qualify for the other.
Correct.
So the insurance side of it / bond, I understand how you're you're implying that those are one of the same.
It just protects, it's just a protection from liability. It's just that they are legitimate, like they do have insurance for their business.
If somebody gets food poisoning, we aren't the ones that are liable for it.
So this would also be applied for the tree walk in December with those
The tree
vendors.
walk is, so those will be done through the Lawrence Center, through their event. They're a different kind of vendor than,
But wouldn't it still be a city? It's still a city
it's still the city,
code.
correct? The tree walk vendors are not, it's a totally different event. This is people, these are vendors who are coming into town, the same as a transient merchant. They're coming into town for the 2 days, that's it. So we would have them apply for a permit. I did talk to Renee today. It's the same permit she applied for when she set up at Jones County Tire. Same thing.
Any other council discussion? Do we have a motion to accept the second reading?
So
Move to
moved.
approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by John. Any council discussion? Any public input? I will start with those that are present in chambers. Just come forward, state your name and your address, even though you don't live in town.
My name is Greg Norland, address 12905 Violet Road. I just have a question for clarification. I'm here representing the Ryan Norland Pumpkin Way Off and the Pumpkin Fest. And my question is this new ordinance, as it applies towards RAGBRAI, how is this going to impact the functions like the Pumpkin Fest and the vendors, church vendors, nonprofit people that come in, all of the vendors that we have in town for the Pumpkin Fest? How are they going to be impacted by this, changing this ordinance?
This ordinance is just for the RAGBRAI event. It only pertains to the days listed in the ordinance.
Okay, that's what I was asking. So it has no impact on
No.
walk, Pumpkin Fest, things like that.
It's just the RAGBRAI ordinance.
July 29 and July 30, 2021.
Thank you.
South Bernabillo Street. I'm Greg and Nancy's daughter. So just for clarification though, I understand that this is just for RAGBRAI, but when Pumpkin Fest comes around, why wouldn't you enforce that for that too? What's stopping you? I mean, you know what I mean? You see what I'm saying?
As
You're
far as
asking
for the vendor fees and things,
for what you're asking for RAGBRAI, for the addition, for the transient merchants,
right,
we have all of Main Street that's full for Pumpkin Fest.
right.
So you're saying you're gonna do this for what, RAGBRAI only?
That's all we've ever done before.
Okay,
And there is
just
a
for
date on here.
clarification.
There is a date on here, July 29th. and
I
July-
understand that. I understand that. But if it's a
Are you
city,
wanting it to change?
no, I'm
or-
asking for
I'm just wanting to know what's
clarification.
happening here.
Nope, I'm asking for clarification because there are transient merchants that come in for Pumpkin Fest
Right.
for the last 32 years.
Okay.
So just for RAGBRAI,
That's all we're that this is just for RAGBRAI.
for the record,
That's
just
it.
for RAGBRAI. Okay, thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's because RAGBRAI is almost like a private party going on. Or
Correct.
otherwise, we'd have the public,
Pumpkin Fest is open to the public.
it's open to the public.
I mean, it's a city event. This is, Ragbri's different than that. Okay. Yeah.
Renee Taylor, 1489 Old Couch Road. So Beth, just a clarification from the conversation we had today.
Yeah.
Of my 21 years on Ragbri as a food vendor, beginning to end, we are just needing or requesting from each food vendor a copy of their $1 million liability.
Correct.
No bond,
No,
because bond would be extra. It would be an extra fee
right,
from the insurance.
right.
Because I've never seen it. I've never been asked.
It's the same thing you did
Right.
before. Yeah, exactly.
Right, it was
like we
just the
talked
confusion
about.
thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that
it's the
it
same.
kind of,
And
Right.
the state code kind of breaks it down a little bit more. I don't know if anybody looked up the state code, but the attorney and I had the same discussion because I was like, oh, a bond is more what I expect from a construction company that comes here, a performance
Mhm.
bond or, guarantee
Right.
bond. So, yes, it is insurance.
perfect. I've been a vendor 26 years. I never heard of it, so I was confused.
And we
That's
would have
why I
asked
called
you for it before then.
What?
We would have asked you
Oh,
for
I
it
know.
before.
So to clarify, are the nonprofits and the churches going to be required to do this and have a fee or handle just the same as the downtown vendors that we're talking about?
I think she said it was a lower fee for nonprofits.
Jeff, I
Please
think you're
state your
correct,
name.
Betty Weimer. However, the ordinance does read all vendors. It doesn't specify or separate who the vendors are. To me, when I read the ordinance, it reads any and all vendors.
For the insurance? Is that what we're talking? Are we talking about the insurance or are we talking about vendor fees, Jeff?
The vendor fees are what we set. I'm
Right.
not even looking at vendor fees.
I guess I was more talking about the vendor fees, but somewhat insurance too. So
So it says, all persons obtaining permits under this ordinance shall comply with Iowa Code Section 9C. All persons.
Right, so everybody should have insurance. I mean, nonprofits should have insurance too. Everybody should have insurance, yes. So same rules, but the vendor fees, Jeff, are lower for nonprofits.
yeah, okay.
I got a clarification question again. I think Leanna said that May 1st was their deadline for being a chamber member, but they're looking at extending that. But in here, it states May 1st. Do we need to amend that?
Yeah, we can do it for the final reading.
We can extend that to May 15th or, I'm even fine with, well, so our vendor our vendor applications are supposed to be in by June 1st. So we can push it out, 15 days, May 15th.
Well, I'm just asking because it does state in here specifically May 1st. And you did say you're going to extend it, so we need to
Yeah, we
Need
can,
to change that.
need to clarify it.
Our ordinance would need to be extended to the line.
Yeah,
When we sent this to the city, I don't remember, there's so many numbers that have gone through my head for all of this. But we had felt it was plenty of time to get this done and get this passed and to allow vendors and get the information out there until the 1st of May, because right now time is of the essence. So a lot's going to depend on you guys tonight. If you waive the 3rd reading, we can have it done by May 15th. If that's not in the plan for tonight, then we're going to have to meet and discuss when we can get it all to happen. Because you put it out for 2 more weeks. When's the next council meeting?
The 10th.
May 10th. So that's, so a lot is depending on how we can get this all to happen.
Is it necessary for another reading? Or do we think we have it?
Well, my understanding is that council has the right to waive the readings.
I'd move that we waive the reading.
Well, first.
We gotta have the vote
Vote
first.
on this one.
Okay, sorry.
Step at a time.
No,
I'll put it back in my pocket. I'll pull it out later.
I guess what I find confusing is how we refer to Ragbri not being open to the public, but using Pumpkin Fest as an example, we state that is. My understanding that if anybody wants to come into town and walk downtown, walk through the vendors, the entertainment, everything that is going on with Ragbri, they are well within their right because it is an open public event. So I guess I'm just confused why we refer to one as being public and one not being.
I believe if you participate in the ride, you have to pay $175 to participate in the ride. And that enables you to be a part of the Ragbri things that go on in the city. That doesn't mean that I can't come downtown, but I'm really not a participant because I didn't pay the money.
What an estimated 20,000 people converging on Anamosa. I believe Ragbri has a limit to registered riders around 10,000, well, maybe north of that yet up by a few. So there is going to be quite a few in excess of non-registered participants with Ragbri.
Well, and that part's true, but when you register with Ragbri, you get that wristband, which allows you, I believe, access to the entertainment or not. So you're not charging at the gate.
Could you guys repeat that at the microphone, please?
You have to come to like Betty.
Sorry. Betty Weimer again. So no, there's no charge for entertainment. It is open to the public. The streets, everything is open to the public. Are we hosting Ragbri because there's riders that have registered to come to town? Yes, but it's not an exclusive by invite only. It is totally open to the public. In fact, in years past, half the people downtown were residents of Anamosa.
And you had made I don't know if you made the comment or asked the question, Alan, that this is a private event, Ragbri. It's my understanding that
It's
the
to some
Des Moines
degree it is,
Register
yeah.
is the parent of it,
I think,
but Ragbri in itself has its own committee, which again, I believe it's a 5013C committee on its own.
to my understanding, they're not really advertising Ragbri. The entity is not advertising come one, come all so much more that it's more for the people that are involved in the program.
Yes and no, by not advertising it when KCRG has this big announcement of all
Oh,
the
I know.
towns that Ragbri is
Yeah.
going through. And you see all this stuff going on with Ragbri. We, Anamosa Ragbri Committee, has opted not to put advertisements out there. We have chose that within the riders, within our own community, within the people here in Anamosa that we want to take care of, it's not necessary for us to put ads in Mount Vernon and Solon and Springville and have all them additional people come. Part of it's been because of COVID. Part of it's been because of we only have so much room and so much space. So the idea that we know it is open to the public, we want it to be our public. We want it to be our people and the riders. We would just assume that the 10,000 riders plus 10,000 jump on 20 I don't want to bring it to 30,000. I don't think that that best serves our community either. So that was a choice the
Okay.
committee made. But as far as a private event, I don't know where that term came up with or how it ever became about that, because that's the farthest thing from the truth when you talk about RAGBRAI.
I don't believe I have prompted Rebecca. Do you have anyone virtually who would like to engage with council?
We haven't yet, no.
Okay. Anyone else in the public in-house that would like to speak? To recap, we have a motion by Kay, second by John, to approve the ordinance as submitted this evening with the amendments. There's no further council discussion. I will ask Beth to conduct a roll vote.
Crump,
I'm just gonna preface this with, I would like to see, the reason I'm gonna vote this way is because I don't feel that charging vendors on their own property is the proper thing to do, so I'm gonna say no.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
The motion carries with 5 yes votes and 1 no vote. At this time, would council wish to waive the third reading?
In order to speed this process up and help the group, I would move to waive another reading.
do you want to include the change for the date to the 15th? Nobody's included the change to the date to the 15th.
Okay, include that.
I'll
Will you say it? Please,
The 15th. That's a 1 and a 5.
thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Alan, second by John, to waive the third reading with the amendment of end date May 15th. I don't think I would need to go to public opinion. I would think the public would be on board with this, but very quickly. Rebecca, anybody there?
Nope.
Beth, would you conduct a roll vote, please?
Crump,
No.
Capron,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Motion to waive the third reading carried, passed, with 5 yes votes and 1 no vote. Moving to new business, 8.0 new business, 8.1 request for Memorial Day ceremony at Riverside Cemetery. Becky Dirks Huckstead.
I think Becky's on there, Rebecca, if you want to unmute her.
Becky, you should get a little notice.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
And welcome, Becky.
Yeah, the request is actually from all of the veterans groups within Anamosa. And we'd like to just conduct, we're only doing a ceremony only in the Riverside Cemetery Park. They can stay in their vehicles. If they choose not to stay in their vehicles, they can space out. We will not have a parade as we had done in the past. We've don't want people sake. So
Becky, you cut out there for a little bit. Do you want to repeat the last little bit that you said?
the request for ceremony only. We will not be having a parade as we had in years past.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Rich, second by Alan to approve. Further council discussion? Public comment in the house? Public comment virtually? Beth, would you conduct the roll vote, please?
Smith,
Yes.
Mockart,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. 8.2, request to set a date for spring cleanup day of June 5th, 2021, from 7 a.m. to noon at the street shop. Shane Brown, Street Superintendent.
Good evening, everybody. Shane Brown, Street Superintendent. We had a meeting with the supervisors early last week. And it came to, since we're having RAGBRAI, maybe we should have a spring cleanup. So we threw out June 5th, trying to miss graduation and some, and the parties and all that good stuff. This year, we want to do it at the street shop because we can, the water, if it rains, will go away and we're not standing in water. And we can also clean up the cement better. And we shortened up the time because the last couple times we've done it, we stood there for 3 hours with nothing to do. And so this should motivate everybody to get their junk to us sooner. And then I can go home and quit standing in the rain. We will still have the same in and out entrance exit type thing. And I have gotten a hold of the roll-off fella, and he's good with that date as long as you are.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. This will be a free cleanup, correct, Shane?
Yes.
I'm glad that you decided to put this on the agenda. This is one of those things that I had mentioned during budget sessions to give consideration to. So I'm glad that you did.
Are we
Hopefully
just,
the
yeah.
community will partake in this. It's one way for us hopefully to curb some of our nuisance blighted properties in town by offering this. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you, do you have a number in mind? Or you just, how many roll-offs are you thinking? You just gonna go till they're full or?
Yeah, well, we normally there was like 11 the last time. And so we didn't have it last year because of COVID. And we're hoping that people have taken care of a lot of this. This is spurred on too with the police department. So they can start really enforcing their ordinances too. And of course, RAGBRAI's coming through town and we'd like it clean. So that was also consideration too.
Okay. Sounds good.
You will be providing details, Shane, because I'm sure there's got to be some restrictions on what you can take.
Yeah,
That
so,
information will be
yep,
yet to come.
it'll be, I think City Hall has that already. We just got to get it in the paper.
Prior to this, we having an agenda item for just a refresher. Yeah, maybe what can and cannot be accepted, just as we lead into that June 5th date. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I can just put the ad in the packet or email it to you. It's just on regular newspaper ad.
Beth, could you repeat that into the microphone?
Yes, sorry. And it's me this time. I'll provide the regular newspaper ad that we do for every cleanup to the city council. The public can see it in the newspaper. I'll put it on the website as well.
Any public comment? Rebecca, anybody?
Nope.
Beth, would you conduct the roll vote, please?
Mockart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yeah.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. 8.3, review and approval of Anamosa ECI HTF, also known as East Central Iowa Housing Trust Fund, agreement for LMI, also known as low to moderate income housing down payment assistance.
Is there any mention in this that it's got to be a first time home buyer? Didn't see that. I don't know if that's part of the stipulations normally.
I think it is. This is mainly the agreement. So our part of the down payment assistance program, we pay directly to the Housing Trust Fund, and they administer all the regulations as far as getting the family into the house.
Okay.
So this is really just our agreement with them that we are committing to give them this funds.
Then we approved participation in this at a prior meeting.
Right.
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Jeff. Any further council discussion? Any public comment? Rebecca, any public comment?
Nope.
Beth, please.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba.
Yes. Motion to approve carried unanimously. 8.4, first reading of an ordinance for a vacant property register.
As Patrick read it. So this is a draft from Derek.
Oh, okay.
So this is mainly just, so we are gonna do our full code review. So Patrick, I will send this to Patrick for him to incorporate it into our large code review, because we will do a public hearing in the whole 9 yards for that. I just kind of wanted some opinion on first reading of this. What you like, what you don't like, what you think you should take out or leave in.
I had reached out to Derek just to get an understanding of how this came to surface. A lot of it was a template from other communities that do have it. Now, there's very few in Iowa that have ordinance for vacant property. I just asked him where do the penalties that are outlined in here, where he came with those. He said that they were not on the low end of what other communities do. They certainly were not at the high end. He kind of picked that middle of the road, where typically is not a bad place to be. So that's just a few things that Derek and I had discussed with Derek. I like the direction of this. It should certainly address some of the blighted, some of the nuisance, absentee owners properties.
I think it's a good idea, and it's spelled out. I guess my only concern is I'm just playing devil's advocate is if we've got these absentee owners, I don't know if they're going to think to if they. I'm just saying if you continue on as is, if you're a non-relevant absentee owner, okay, so if you don't register, you don't pay the fee, it just gets tacked onto a building that's not readily for sale. I mean, ultimately, the only teeth in it is it sits and sits and sits until it finally sells. That'd be the only time we'd be able to collect, really, if we don't have any contact with the building owner.
It would also work with a nuisance too. So I mean, if that building's becoming a nuisance,
Okay.
then we can pursue the nuisance through a different means.
Okay.
So since it's sort of a general first ordinance, do you want you want a motion, or do you just want to say we read it and?
If you don't have anything in there that is objectionable, then you can absolutely do the first reading and I'll get it to Patrick.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Kay, second by John. Any further council discussion? Any public comment? Any public comment from our virtual attendees? Beth, would you conduct a roll vote, please?
Smith,
Yes.
Mockart,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout.
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimously. 8.5, resolution setting the date of May 10th, 2021 at 6 PM at the Anamosa Library and Learning Center and via Zoom for a public hearing for amending the current city budget for fiscal year 2021.
I'll make a motion of setting the date of May 10th, 2021 at 6 PM at the Anamosa Library and Learning Center for a public hearing for amending the current city budget for the fiscal year 2021. Second.
A motion by Rich, second by Galen. Further council discussion? Be surprised if there was some public comment, but I will certainly ask for it. Anyone virtually? Beth, please.
Mockart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. 8.6, resolution setting the date of May 10th, 2021 at 6 PM at the Anamosa Library and Learning Center and via Zoom for a public hearing on proposed plans and specifications, proposed form of contract and estimate of costs for the Anamosa Fire Station Addition project and the taking of bids for such work.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Jeff, second by Rich. Further council discussion? Public comment? Virtual comment? Beth?
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Mockart.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimous. 8.7, resolution approving the time extension and setting salary for full-time temporary water operator for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Alan. Further council discussion? Any public comment? Rebecca, any comments?
Nope.
Beth, would you conduct?
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mockart.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimous. 8.8, resolution approving the hiring and setting salary for full-time and part-time patrol officer for fiscal year 2021.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Alan. Further council discussion? Any public comment? Any virtual public comment? Beth, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Mockart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.9, Resolution approving the hiring and setting salary for interim water department superintendent and full-time water operator 2 for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Galen. Any further council discussion? I am going to opt not to ask for public comment on 8.9. I'm going directly to roll vote. Beth?
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Motion carried unanimous. 8.10, review and approval for the amendment to the professional services agreement with Shive Hattery for the fire station addition.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. And this amendment is strictly for that common area where the snow, for the snow load.
correct. And we did have a conversation about the current roof, how it's set up too, so we may not have to go down this engineering path all the way. So after they had their construction meeting today, they made a few discoveries, so this is really just in case they do have to build in that extra reinforcement for the snow load.
We hope it gets cheaper.
Right, exactly.
Definitely. Okay. Further council discussion? Public comment? Virtual comments? Yeah, please.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Capron,
Yeah.
Stout,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.11, review and approval of current bills.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Allen, second by Galen. Council discussion on any of the bills in particular.
I do have a question in looking at this, and it's not probably just, it's just a general question. I thought the street shop was raised high enough, it was not in a floodplain.
so it is, but some of it's still low. Yeah, I have that question as well. but-
I've heard that, but I'm trying to jump shape around. I've heard it's a foot low, but I've never,
I believe since it's still in the floodplain, we're required to have insurance since we have a structure in the floodplain.
Well, but if it gets raised up out of the floodplain, I believe
You can get out of it.
you can get out of that. That's something that we ought to take a look into.
I can ask Jackie,
Yeah,
because we do still pay it on the wastewater plant as well.
I see that.
So,
I mean, if we can save $8,000 because
oh, yeah,
we're elevated out of the floodplain, I think we need to investigate that.
yeah. For some reason, I think there's a federal law that even if you raise it, even though you're still in the plane, I think but I'll check with Jackie.
That was my understanding, that if you're still mapped in that mapped
Right.
floodplain area, you
You'd
had to carry it. And I'm all about pursuing this, Rich, you know, if you say it, we could save 8,000.
Yeah.
We'd be fools not to. I just hope in looking at it, we don't red flag that we might be too low in
Well,
some area.
Even if we're too low, it doesn't matter. We're still paying it.
Yeah.
So
Right.
the investigation of it, I think, would be worth it. Because I know of other places that they have raised up out of the floodplain so that they don't have to pay the flood insurance. So I think it's worth at least having that discussion.
Yeah, I agree. And with my job and that, I am familiar with a few, properties that were in floodplains, and there's an elevation. It's a process, but an elevation certificate, and then the flood insurance may or may not be necessary. So
Good point.
Any other discussion by council? Any public comment? Any virtual comments? We have approval, we have a motion by Alan, second by Galen to approve. Beth, would you conduct the roll vote?
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
yes.
Motion to approve the bills, or payment of the bills carried unanimously. 9.0 City Administrators Report.
so we should have the audit report soon. I just have a few things left to get to her. We're gonna go live with the accounting system in a couple of sections in the next couple of weeks. I'm having a little bit of a panic attack about it, but it'll be all right.
Just a little.
Okay, a lot of a panic attack, but it'll be fine. Other than that, it's just the usual.
Well, Beth, there's no doubt in my mind that you and your team got this. So sleep easy.
After it's launched, well,
I have to believe that after using the old system,
oh,
this is gonna be
yeah,
a cakewalk for you.
yeah, once it's up. So right now, we're kind of in that converting over, so we have to run it parallel to our system for at least a month. So we have to enter everything in both sides to make sure
Yeah.
everything's balancing. After that's over, it'll be fantastic.
You got double work, but once you
It'll
get
be,
through it,
yeah.
it'll
So
be,
with
life will be
running
easier.
them parallel, are you seeing anything like giving you heartburn or?
The general ledger accounts, the general ledger accounts have been the most challenging. Payroll went pretty smooth so far. Knock on wood, someone out there near wood, knock on it. The general ledger, we just had so many accounts in there that hadn't been used in a long time. So just sorting through the massive amount of data, it was really the hardest part. And it's still ongoing because, like our budget forms have all of the accounts that we use regularly, but there's probably 10 times that amount of accounts in the system for all these years. So that's the biggest challenge.
Can those be purged as you move forward?
They will, yeah.
Okay.
So they can't be used for 4 years, but they can't purge anything that's been used in the last 4 years. So it will be cleaner. And account numbers will be shorter and they will correspond with the state's accounting system. So it's going to be good. We just have to get there.
So,
Getting closer.
so part of the heartache right now is because you're doing the dual, you've got one GL account number on the old system, a different GL account
Right.
number on the new system. So you've got to convert
Right.
as you're going through.
Yeah. And I have just like a big folder of cheat sheets. So,
It certainly makes it more labor intensive.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of training to do. So we have a lot of training set up over the next couple of weeks. So
Speaking of training, how did your training go? Was it last week,
yeah.
Thursday, Friday?
So I went to the Municipal Finance Officers Conference, which is just a day and a half, which isn't long enough to talk about everything, but we did have a good legislative update from the League of Cities. There are some things coming down with natural gas and propane. So I will talk to Patrick about making sure our ordinances are work with what's coming down. Also, we also have there's still a bill in session for TIF, which limits the years. It takes away the perpetual TIF for blight, limits it to 20 years. It sunsets everything you have. So you do have to renew it. So it is going to be kind of a pinch for us, just because it will reset every 20 years, and we have to redo them, or we have to set up new areas every 20 years.
Council, do you have any other questions for Beth? 10.0, mayor and council reports. 10.1, mayor's report. Nothing to report this evening. 10.2, council reports.
I would like to invite everybody to Steve's retirement party at the pool park on May 5th from, I don't know,
Ma-
5, 7
Ma-
to 9.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember the time.
Steve Wendell's retirement party is at the Wapsiana Park, May 6th, that Thursday from 5 until 7.
Thank you, Kay and Rebecca, for that. You'll be missed, won't you, Rebecca?
I'm trying not to think about it.
Any other council reports? 11.0, public comment for items not on the agenda. I will start with those present in the council chambers. I'll take it as there's none. Rebecca, is there anyone virtual that would like to speak with the council?
I don't see anything.
I'd like to thank the Anamosa officer for being in attendance this evening, protecting us. With that, 12.0 adjournment.
So moved.
I got John on the motion, Rich on the second. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion to adjourn carried unanimous. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Thank you, council, for getting through a somewhat lengthy agenda.